I dumped my boyfriend over text for dodging the proposal, only to have my mom arrange his marriage to someone else who's now abusing and cheating on me. When I begged her for help, she coldly told me to suck it up and fight to win him back. I wish I hadn't ended things with my boyfriend. I'd always known my life would be a balancing act between different cultures, expectations, and personal desires. As a 26-year-old Muslim woman from a South Asian immigrant family living in the U.S., I navigated a delicate blend of freedom and obligation. I was free to dream, study, and explore, as long as I didn't bring shame to my family. But there was also constant pressure to settle down, marry, and become a wife before I got too old. I understood the unspoken rules, but I wasn't prepared for how harsh the consequences could be. I met him, my ex, when everything in my life felt promising. I was just starting a new job, moving into my own apartment, and feeling more independent than ever. We began dating in secret. Our families had no idea. There was no way my mother would have tolerated me cohabiting with a man before marriage. Yet things progressed quickly and genuinely. We moved in together, discreetly, after about 3 months. I know it sounds rash, but at the time, it felt right. Every evening was magical. Cooking together, binging silly shows, late-night drives, just for milkshakes. We even traveled disguised as work trips or visits to a girlfriend's place when our parents inquired. And yes, we were intimate often. I don't take that lightly. I understand the significance of it in my culture and faith. I gave him my everything because I truly believed he would be my husband. He told me he'd propose around our 1-year anniversary, and that thought kept me grounded. I clung to it like a sacred promise. But no one tells you that even profound love can't shield you from the realities of life. We started arguing, not huge fights, but small, constant, draining disagreements. Unwashed. Dishes, forgotten errands, zoning out during conversations. I think the strain of our secret relationship, of constantly pretending, started seeping into everything. One argument escalated so badly that I asked him to leave our apartment. He didn't protest, just quietly packed a bag and departed. I blocked him for an entire day, crying alone and consumed by self-loathing. The next evening, I unblocked him and pleaded for him to return, which he did. But something in him shifted after that. I noticed he became distant, hesitant. A few weeks later, he told me he wanted to postpone the proposal. He said our disagreements frightened him and he needed more time to feel we were truly ready. My heart sank. I didn't tell him, but I informed my mother that the proposal was delayed, and she was furious. "He's wasting your time," she declared. "He doesn't want to marry you." Things became even tougher after he lost his job and relocated to another state for a new opportunity. I visited him, and it felt like old times again. He was setting up his new place, talking about us moving in together once we were married. He bought me a wedding dress I adored, gave me thoughtful, expensive gifts, and kept saying, "Just a few more months." He wanted to marry in May, but our anniversary was in March, and I held on to that date as if it were sacred. March arrived, and I was still unmarried. It felt like a betrayal, even though I understood his reasoning. Then it happened. A fight with my mother one evening at dinner spiraled, and she casually mentioned a marriage proposal from a local doctor. He was 35, well-established, and recently moved from our homeland. She said he was ready to marry me immediately. I broke up with my boyfriend via text. I didn't even explain properly. I just blocked him everywhere and vanished from his life. It was cruel, and I knew it. But in that moment, I felt justified. I was tired of feeling inadequate, like my timeline didn't matter. A week later, he emailed me. He apologized, saying he messed up by letting fear get in the way. He wrote that we could get married in March, just as I wanted, that he was ready. He admitted he'd been scared because of our arguments, but he never stopped loving me. "I can't imagine a life without you," he wrote. "I've built everything with you in mind." I didn't reply. I read the email 10 times and sobbed until my chest ached, but I remained silent. I believed I was choosing my self-worth. I thought I was choosing what was right. In early May, I married the doctor. He smiled in pictures and said all the right things to my family. He was polite, mature, and stable. My mother was proud, even relieved. I tried to match her enthusiasm. I smiled, I dressed up. I told myself I had won. I had secured a respectable husband, one my community would approve of. My ex never emailed again, but a part of me already knew I had made a terrible mistake. It took about 3 weeks after the wedding for his true nature to emerge. The man I married, the kind doctor my mother was so certain would make everything right, stopped pretending the moment the celebrations ended. It began subtly. Cold silences, impatient sighs when I spoke, no interest in anything I did or said. He wouldn't even sleep in the same bed half the time. Then I started noticing the late nights, his phone buzzing at all hours, always screen down, the locked bathroom door during showers, the fresh cologne at 10 p.m., the barely concealed hickeys. When he came home, I confronted him once, calmly, desperately trying to prevent an explosion, and he just shrugged. "Do whatever you want," he said, scrolling through his phone. "You're not going anywhere. You won't get a divorce. You can't." He was right, not because I didn't want to leave, but because I felt I couldn't. Divorce in my culture, especially, for a woman isn't just a breakup, it's a mark, a social stigma. And my mother, she wouldn't even consider it. "You're married now," she told me coldly when I broke down and confided everything. "You have to make it work. Your ex had his chance. He chose not to take it." I wanted to scream. My husband was sleeping with a nurse he worked with. I knew it. I'd seen texts. He didn't even bother denying it anymore. He told me I should just accept it because I had nowhere else to go, and perhaps he was right. I had burned every bridge to get here. Some nights he would come home just long enough for sex, mechanical and cold, like a chore he had to complete before vanishing again. I felt like a prop in my own marriage, merely someone to show his family back home that he had done the right thing and married a respectable American-raised Muslim girl. But nothing about this felt right. I tried to be the good wife. I'd cook something special, set the table, and light a candle like an idiot. He'd walk in, sniff the food, and mutter, "Why do you even bother?" Then he'd leave. He barely looked at me. It was as if I didn't exist outside the bedroom. The cultural gap between us didn't help either. He had only moved to the US a few years ago, and conversing with him felt like talking to a much older relative. I'd laugh at a meme, and he'd stare blankly. He didn't understand my references, my jokes, or frankly me. The age difference wasn't just numbers. It was a vast divide. I started feeling like I was suffocating, that the life I had envisioned was gone, that I was gone. And somewhere amidst that numbness and despair, I began dreaming of him again. My ex. I'd see us in our old apartment, curled up on the couch, his arm around me, the scent of his shampoo still fresh in my mind. I'd wake up with tears on my pillow. I started searching for him online, quietly browse his Instagram. I found a recent picture of him in a crisp button-down, standing beside a new car, the one he always said he'd buy with his signing bonus. The one he said we'd take road trips in together, coast to coast, with me in the passenger seat laughing at his playlists. That picture devastated me because that life, that was supposed to be mine. He had planned it with me. He used to call me his wild girl, saying he couldn't believe someone like me loved someone like him. I think that's why he hesitated to marry me at first. I was vibrant, outspoken, and passionate. We argued, yes, but we loved intensely too. I used to believe it was entirely his fault that we didn't marry sooner, but now I see my part in it. I was impatient. I pushed him, punished him emotionally for being scared. And when he asked for just a few months to calm down after our worst fights, I saw it as betrayal. I let my mother convince me he didn't value me when, in reality, I think he just needed room to breathe. And when he did return, when he emailed me, I ignored him. I ghosted him as if he were nothing. I think I broke him. It's May now, almost a full year since our anniversary, and every day feels like I'm living someone else's life. I think about messaging him. Just one message, just to say I'm sorry, to tell him I never stopped loving him, not even for a second. But I don't know if he would ever forgive me, or if I even deserve it. He was my first everything, my first love, my home. And now I'm trapped in a marriage that feels like a prison, paying for a choice that should never have been made. Maybe this is my karma. But still, I wonder if he's out there. If he ever thinks about me too. If there's even the slightest possibility, would he take me back? Would he even want to? Or did I throw away the only real thing I ever had? Summary: I broke up with my ex because he wouldn't propose quickly enough and married someone else due to family pressure. Now I regret it because my husband is abusive and a serial cheater. I miss my ex and wish I could reverse my decision. What should I do? Comments. Comment 1. You're quite impulsive, getting upset over minor things, and then impulsively marrying a stranger as a form of revenge. It's truly unbelievable. OP's response: it wasn't as simple as that. We had been together for a year, so there was a logical reason to leave him if he truly wasn't ready to commit. I was exhausted from waiting and the constant arguments, and I genuinely believed I was making a more secure choice with a doctor. I didn't see it as revenge at the time, but I understand how it might appear that way now. Comment 2. You're unstable. Your thoughts are all over the place, arguing over small matters to the point of throwing his belongings out. What was that about? Marrying out of spite? And now you're stalking him. Just get a divorce. Distance yourself from your manipulative mother and move forward. You ruined your previous relationships, so forget about them. You'll have to build something new. OP's response: I know I was emotionally fragile back then. I reacted impulsively and didn't know how to process my emotions, especially when things became difficult. I now see how damaging that behavior was. You're right. I'm still caught in a cycle, trying to relive the past. The idea of starting over is terrifying, but perhaps that's what I need. I'm trying to figure things out. Comment 3. I suppose you finally learned about consequences. You need therapy. You were an abusive partner, and now you are being abused. You need to break that cycle. The only person I feel sorry for here is your ex. Hopefully, he finds someone worthy because it isn't you. And stop listening to your mother. She clearly has no clue about anything. What did you expect by marrying someone you barely knew? That guy truly dodged a bullet. OP's response: I hear you, and yes, it took hitting rock bottom to realize how much I need help. I've been in survival mode for so long, reacting instead of thinking. I don't want to be that person anymore. Therapy is something I'm seriously considering now. As for my mother, I allowed her voice to overpower mine, and I'm the one paying the price. I just want a way out now, and perhaps eventually, a chance to heal. Update. Hello everyone, it's been a long time since I posted, and honestly, I never thought I'd return to this account. But after everything I've experienced, I wanted to provide an update. When I wrote that original post, I was at the lowest point in my life. I didn't even recognize myself. I was living in a house that felt like a prison, in a marriage that stripped me of my voice, my dignity, and my sense of worth. But I was still trying to convince myself that maybe I was the problem, that if I cooked better, stayed quiet, and cried less, he would stop hurting me. But he didn't. He became worse. My husband, well, ex-husband now, started becoming physically violent. It began subtly, a shove here, grabbing my wrist too hard there, but it escalated quickly. One night, he slammed me into the wall because I interrupted him during a phone call. I had bruises I couldn't explain to anyone. And when I discovered he was still intimate with that nurse, he laughed in my face. He said, "She knows her place. You should learn yours." He didn't even bother to conceal it anymore. He'd bring her into our house when he knew I was home, just to humiliate me. Once I heard them laughing in the other room. When I confronted him afterward, he dragged me by my arm and told me, "You're lucky I even let you stay here." When I told my mother, I thought she would tell me to come home. Instead, she told me not to tell anyone. She said, "You have to try harder, and maybe she's giving him something I'm not." I swear I couldn't even cry. I just stared at her, numb. This was my mother, the woman who raised me, the one I thought would protect me, and all she could say was that I needed to earn my place beside the man who was abusing me. She begged me not to shame the family, said people would talk, said a divorced woman is always blamed. That's when I realized she didn't care about me. She cared about appearances, about saving face, and I was just a pawn in that game, so I left. With the help of my cousin, bless her soul, she's the only one in my family who saw me and believed me. I moved out in the middle of the night. We stayed in a motel for a few days before she took me in. She helped me find a lawyer, file a police report, and begin the divorce process. She took pictures of my bruises. She held my hand when I had panic attacks in the middle of the night. She reminded me that I wasn't crazy. The divorce is finalized now. I'm legally free. My family disowned me. My mother told my relatives that I abandoned my husband without trying and fabricated abuse for sympathy. I've been excluded from weddings, group chats, and even funerals. It hurts, but I've accepted it. If protecting my body and soul means being alone for a while, then so be it. As for my ex, the real one, the man I loved, I did reach out, not to win him back. I just needed him to hear the truth from me. I wrote him a letter and mailed it to the only address I had. I told him I was sorry, that I regretted how I left things, that he was never the problem. I was scared and hurt and made the worst decision of my life because I let others define my worth. He never responded, and honestly, I understand. I broke his heart. Some damage just can't be undone. But I'm not writing this update for him. I'm writing it for anyone who ever felt trapped, shamed, or erased by people who were supposed to love them. I'm writing it for the version of me who thought her only choices were to suffer or settle. Today, I'm living in a small apartment I pay for myself. I'm in therapy weekly. I'm working again. I go to the gym. I'm not completely better, but I'm healing. Thank you to everyone who told me the truth when I didn't want to hear it. And to everyone reading this, please, please don't stay where you're being hurt. You deserve more than mere survival. You deserve peace. Comments. Comment 1. Wow. I remember your original post, and I truly never thought I'd see an update. I just want to say I'm proud of you. It takes immense courage to walk away from an abusive marriage, especially when your own family abandons you. You saved yourself. I'm sorry your ex didn't respond, but perhaps that chapter was meant to remain closed. Focus on healing. You've already completed the hardest part, sending you so much strength. You're not alone. Comment 2. I'm glad you're in a better place now, but I have to ask, do you truly comprehend how much harm you inflicted on your ex? It's one thing to make a mistake under pressure, but you ghosted him cold and married someone else as if it were nothing. Now you miss him, but is it really him or an idealized version of him? Just something to explore in therapy. I genuinely wish you the best, but I hope you're not romanticizing the past simply because the present became difficult. Comment 3. Actions have consequences, and honestly, you destroyed everything. You mistreated your ex, married a stranger, then acted surprised when it went poorly. At least you're finally taking responsibility. That's step 1. Step 2. Never let your mother control another significant life decision again. She enabled your abuse and blamed you. She is not your ally. You can rebuild your life, but not if you keep chasing old ghosts. The future begins when you stop looking backward. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.